So when you look at it, you know that Nigeria has been so backward in this vital field of endeavor. That is why those who is making a policy for the procurement, they don't know it, and they are just making, this thing. If I ask you today, is there any university in Nigeria offering purchasing and supply management or procurement? It's just now they are waking up to look at that side. That is very vital to the economy. That is why you see anybody who just wake up one day says a procurement person. That is why you see those who read marketing, accounting, finance, pharmacy, everybody want to do the job of procurement. But the issue is that they don't have the requisite knowledge to perform it, because there's a renowned expert in negotiation, Dr. Karas. He said in business, you don't get what you deserve, but what you negotiate. Have they not negotiate themselves out? That is the issue.
For the purpose of those watching, we're talking about the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply Management of Nigeria, which you have served as the head of that institute. So, okay, since these institutes came on board, would you say there have been differences, really, in terms of the quality control? Would you say there have been major achievements in that field? Talking about quality control, really.
Yes, I'll tell you, yes, in the sense that, as I said earlier, that before now, you hardly hear about these institutes, talk less of the professionals who are to put, the needful on ground. For example, they can just pick anybody and say that, oh, you should be in charge of it. It's anything they dictate to him is what he takes. And that is what this profession is out for that. No, there should be measure of quality before an item is accepted. Then that is why the institute is advocating that, look, you cannot design and at the same do the buying. That is where we're having rub with the designer and the engineer. In a situation where you design, you want to buy, you receive it and use it, where is the control? Where's checks and balance? This is what we are talking about. In the same vein, in the hospital, you find out that the pharmacy will specify, at the same time, went and buy it. And her own main job to mix the drug is missing, is suffering. Whereas there are people trained on this one. Well, what you just need is to give the correct specification. If you give correct specification, the item will be acquired for you and well negotiated to the benefit of the organization. Because the most unforgivable thing for any procurement professional is to go above the budget. But you find out in Nigeria, when the year is coming to an end, everybody is running healthcare. They say they want to spend the budget. They want to exhaust the budget. My question is this. If at the end of the year, what you save from your salary, will you say the undermount because this is the end of the year, you finish it? But only to them too that the budget is not money, it's a plan. Not that it's a physical money on the ground. That is where they get it wrong. And they will be acquiring unnecessary things that is not even useful to the organization at exorbitant price. That is why equally they owe a lot of contractors. And when that person, either they retire or leave, the contractor will now suffer.
Okay, but do we have enough procurement officers? I'm talking about your members, because like you said earlier that it is now that the Nigerian universities are waking up. I don't think maybe 1 or 2 universities, have supply and management as a course or something that has to do with procurement. So do we not have enough, core professionals that could be employed in different establishments? Since we don't have, it's not a common course in Nigerian universities.
Yes, we don't have enough professional as that now, but the ones you have, they can, manage Nigeria organization to the extent of making sure that they save money, hard-earned money for organization. For example, if you employ those, because there are no university, but Polytechnic have been offering, we have up to 10 to 12 polytechnics that have been offering this course since 1974. Kaduna Polytechnic was the first institution that started it in 1974, and so many other polytechnics later joined, like Ibadan Polytechnic, Nekede Federal Polytechnic, Kano State Polytechnic, Ramat Polytechnic, and so on. They have been offering, turning out HMD purchasing. But the question is that the government don't give them room. And these graduates, they prefer to work in private organizations than working in the government, where they'll be entrusting them not to, perform.
But what about those believe that it's already part of economics? Because we talk about demand and supply.
Yeah.
It should be embedded in economics. You got economics graduates, in the course of their study, yes, they've been taught about demand and supply to an extent that it shouldn't stand alone as a course on its own, but it should be under a related course. Because there's always talk about demand and supply, not talking about economics.
No. It doesn't. I would say you are looking at it from a perspective of what I call it negative aspect of it. No, it doesn't go that way. For instance, yes, you talk of economics. Yes, in economics, you have to get you have to specialize in a particular field. But when it comes to the procurement, where you are to be taught procurement techniques, you don't have it. Where to be taught about materials management, which is on its own as a field too, you don't have it. Then the way to store materials in the warehouse or storehouse, you don't have it. So all those things are on its own. That is why when you go to even Polytechnic, yes, first year, second year, you do common thing. But when it comes to the major, you go to your field of specialization. That is what it is. Even Polytechnic, there was a time they wanted to make it to be in the business department, but they found out that if you don't have the principle, the basic aspect of the procurement, you cannot do it. And when they go to for professional exam, you find out they don't have the knowledge. That is what this institute is out for, to train the real procurement professional. Like, for instance, you work some of the questions pertaining to the procurement, that's purchasing and supply, or we now call it supply chain management.
Yes, supply chain management.
They will be totally out of it completely, because when you are ordering material from abroad, it's quite different from when you are ordering material locally. The documents are different. So that is what it is. It's not like this way. Those who study finance and banking and those who study account, there's different. But you do the same thing first year, second year, but when it comes to the major, you separate.
But don't you think your institute has a long way to go in ensuring that we have round pegs in round holes in establishments all around? Yes, for maybe government establishments, you could find a way around it. But private establishments, can you really dictate to them who to employ? Because if I have an establishment, for example, I'm a contractor, at times I want to cut the costs here and there. I'm just talking about monitoring.
Yes.
Don't you think you have a long way to go in ensuring that we have core professionals in procurement offices in almost every establishment that needs this kind of skill?
We have that problem, but as far as private sector is concerned, they value the professionals more. They hold them to the highest esteem. They hold them to their chest. They adore procurement professional, because they know is the life wire of that organization. When there's no material to work on, will that organization exist? No. Two, if items are bought on exorbitant price, it will not do that organization good. That is why we in procurement, we price ourselves as the wise spender.
As a wise spender.
Wise spender.
But why relaying out your profile, so that you worked with the defunct Nigerian Airways as a deputy procurement officer, how does it make you feel that till now we still don't have the national carrier?
Thank you very much for that, your question. That was where we had it rough when I was there, because they didn't really, agree with.
Having it wrong, does it have to do with procurement at any level?
Yeah, it affected, because those, I call them birds. Those aircraft, they are birds. They are supposed to be flying in the sky, not to be on the ground. And what can make them not to be on ground is that when there's no spare parts. And when there's no spare part, it's just like a human being. When there's no food in your stomach, you cannot function properly.
But you were the deputy procurement officer.
Yes.
What went wrong?
What went wrong is what I'm telling you now, that in the situation where you said these spare parts, these ones should be made available so that these aircraft can be functioning, and you didn't allow it to function. Instead, when the money coming to be spent on other things, whereas the aircraft that's supposed to spend this money on, or you didn't, or just like the golden, something that laid the goose, you didn't feed it. What do you think? It will die. It will die. So that is what it is. In many organizations, store is the stomach of that organization, just like you have your stomach. Now, if it is empty, don't you replenish it? What do you replenish it with? Food. Then, if an organization doesn't replenish its stock to feed the organization, would that organization die? It will definitely die. That is what it simply means. That's why anybody I want to explain to so that I can grab, I'll tell you that take a typical example of your stomach or your car engine. If there is no fuel, it cannot function. That is a replica of it. And let me tell you that the issue of this procurement or store, whatever you call it, supply chain management that we are talking about, is embedded in both Quran and Bible. Joseph was the procurement manager of Egyptian Pharaoh, and he purchased grains and stored for 7 years farmer. What was he doing there?
Of course, you said it.
So you can see how important procurement is. And let me tell you in another way. Let's say, for instance, in the morning, there's no food in the house. And almost everybody that builds house now, standard house now, there's where they carve out and say store, where they keep food items. Have you seen anybody that build bank and tell the children this is what I keep money? You will not. It's only this thing. So, and based on what you said earlier, that the economics has said it, procurement has been with us since this immemorial. But how is it practiced is the problem. Because people discover that if they do what it is, it's not possible for anybody to just carry material and go away. But it's easy to convert material to money. It's vice versa. Money to material, material to money. That is why if you see so many people that siphon money today, they don't take it to the bank because of DDN. They convert it to material. That's why we are seeing so many houses, so many hotels spranging up.
Alhaji, let's talk about the Procurement Act, because why hasn't it been so effective?
That is another very nice question. Like I said earlier, why the Procurement Act has not been very effective is because the professionals are not there. In a situation, everybody will tell you that he wants to be there. For example, the Bureau of Public Procurement If you go there, either find engineer, quantity surveyor, and so on. But lab.
So basically, what is your institute or you as a major stakeholder doing in this regard? You're talking about advocacy and maybe lobbying. What are you doing in this regard to ensure that you right the wrongs?
As far as that one is concerned, we are doing our best. That was why when the law, the procurement law of this state was conceptualized, we played a vital role because the state assembly invited us and they appreciate our contribution, and we made them to realize that, look, if this law is enacted and let it run, the government will enjoy, and you know how the taxpayers' money is being spent because they will see it. That will help in delivering dividend of democracy. And that is one of the aspects that makes me to even come to congratulate the head of service of Ogun State and tell her that he had a role to play by advising His Excellency the Governor of Ogun, Executive Governor of Ogun State, to ensure that if he wants his service to be well cherished, let him, make sure the procurement law is on ground. Because an area that consumes 80 to 90%, it is not a small thing that you need to treat with levity. It has to be practiced and by those who know what it takes. Because if anything you don't know, there's no way you can practice it. It has its science and art to make sure you practice it in that way, because the formulation of each system is there, the implementation of each system there, then evaluation as to know, are you in tune what is on the ground? Because when you see what is meant by strategic management today, you are talking the wrong aspect of that organization. When you are not talking of the wrong aspect of that organization, it means you are not in tune with what technology has brought about. And that is why you see companies, they excel. And those procurement professionals that in those companies, they are well adored. And to the extent they always say that, look, procurement is the life wire of an organization. When you ask them why, you say, if there's no material, no operation. So this is why it's very key. For example, the gadget you are using here today is purchased. Not that you manufacture. Do you manufacture it here? It was purchased. So how the purchase is done is left to you people.
But what about in situations that we've caught some corporate procurement officers napping, or haven't you had any of such experience? Or if I know that there are ethics, that guide your institute, and some members could decide to be unethical.
To the best of my knowledge, none of our members that has been reported, but we have quacks that are practicing calling themselves that they are procurement professional. Anybody that we don't have his or her record, that is not our member. To the best of my knowledge, all the people they have, become, none of our members has been reported that because they know if there's such a report of misprocurement, it will be sanctioned. So that is what it is. And those of us that actually, started the whole system, all qualify from abroad, not Nigeria.
So what about the membership of, the institute now? For someone who didn't study purchasing or supply chain management and has been practicing as a procurement officer with many years of experience, can he still be a member? But he didn't practice, or he or she didn't study it as a course?
Yeah, we marry them into our fold and give them training. There's what we call graduate conversion program, which we are doing. We take them to class. They spend 18 months in the class. That after that 18 months, they write exam. That is, they write part 1, part 2, part 3. Then they submit project. That is how we train them to make them professional. Now that it was reducing, that is why we have those who are ready to learn. We have engineers, pharmacists, doctors, name it, that come. We give them the training and make sure that we certify them, get certified certificate from the institute. That is to enable you to practice. Then we issue you the chartered certificate and the stamp to practice.
So what's the future of procurement in Nigeria, bright or bleak?
I'll tell you that the future is bright, but the issue of respecting the law, establishing the institute, is what we are still battling with it. Because many don't see it. They are looking at it that if they implement it, it will, they bar them of doing what is not ideal. That is the way some of them. That's why some of them, it really bogs them into problem they are not supposed to be. You as an executive, if you allow the procurement person to do the job and explain to you, at the end of the day, you will be free. That is why you see so many of our governors and this, and that is where they handcuff themselves. It's through procurement contract. Because they didn't follow what is called due process. Anything that you didn't follow the due process, even in marriage, if you don't follow the due process, your wife can turn to a different thing entirely. Because procurement entails that you are to find out the right source. Now, if you just pick a lady from the street and you say marry, then whatever become out of it, did you go to the right source? The answer is no. You have not got to the right source. Did you know the parent of the child? Did you know her background? Did you know their background? All these are very... That's why I tell you that procurement, when you look at it, is into everything. In the religion, in whatever you talk about it, is into it. That's why I initially told you that in the Quran, in the Bible, Joseph was the procurement manager of Egyptian Pharaoh. And in the Quran, that is Anabi Yusuf, alayhi salatu salam, was the procurement manager. So this is what is procurement just come just like that. But what makes people to now feel they don't want it is because they will not be able to do something wrong. That is why. Otherwise, before everything, before money was introduced, everything was trade by barter, exchange material for material. That's still procurement. You want, let's say this your handset, I want it. I have to look for equivalent something that you need and give it to you, then we exchange. Is that not buying too? It's buying.
Well, is this not a critical time or perilous time to practice procurement when we have 4199s? Of course, we've had the cases of many of them duping, swindling people of millions of dollars, and even we've seen the enlightened, the elites, also fall into their hands.
I'm happy for you to pinpoint that out. Yes, it is high time to do that. Initially, I told you, I said we are the wise spender. Recently, some people are saying with this code 19, a lot of money has been pumped into this. How is it done? They don't know. In procurement, it will be clearly shown to you, this is how much this material costs and this how much is obtained, and this is what is left. We always make this analysis because what, occupies from people's mind is that, if they give this contract out, so percentage we call them, which they call 10%. Procurement don't have that 10%. In procurement, you are not allowed to do that. Anything that is this, you have to plow it back. If that 10%, which they, those who are novice normally practice, are plowed back, for example, in the hospital, don't you think to buy more drugs to serve more people? Instead of taking that 10%, which some of them are known for. That is why they don't allow all these things to happen.
Okay, you just talked about COVID-19, and of course, we're in the COVID-19 era. There have been high purchase of PPEs, the protective equipment, for doctors, almost every state government in high purchase of that equipment. So how much of your involvement, of course, you as a procurement officer and other procurement, how much of your involvement have you really put into this?
But it's really sad to tell you that most of our members that are in the health industry, particularly in the teaching hospital or medical center, the chief medical director don't normally allow our member to do the needful, because they are of the view that since they say it's chief everything to do everything, leave his main job and be pursuing the procurement issue, which is not ideal. Do your own bit of the job, leave it so that the other person will do what it's supposed to do, so that at the end it will make things neat. Because the propounder of the division of labor, Adam Smith, in 1776, wasn't stupid when he said, this one should do this, this one should do this, this one should do this. That is why the diverse field comes into play. Yes, you are a journalist. I cannot say that I'm the head of this place and do your job. It will not work. My own area will suffer. The way they were looking at procurement, they were looking at it as making fortune for themselves. Whereas it's not like that. Let's say, for instance, in the banking industry, a cashier in the bank, if he's taking one naira away every day, don't you think at the end of the year to affect the bank? That is what it is. I tell you, some organization, a managing director can say, go to the store and collect me a ream of paper. I want to go and give it to my children to practice with. You have forgotten that one ream of paper is money. Can you send to an accountant, go to the cash office and collect me 1 naira? Accountant will not. The cashier will say no. Can you go to the bank now without your checkbook or passbook and say you want to take money? They will agree. No. The same thing applies. If in an organization you want to take an item from the store, you have to fill in requisition. Then it will be checked whether your department is capable. What I mean by that, do you have budget for that? If you don't have, they'll just stylishly refer to the drawer. Just as they say, check, refer to the drawer. It's the same thing. That's why I tell you, in our own field, material turns to money. That's why we call it purchasing or procurement of material cycle. It turns to money, and money turns to cash.
But you just cited one of the problems you are facing. I talked about the CMD not allowing the procurement officers, to work, to do their work, to procure materials for hospitals. This could also be the case in other establishments. So how will you enforce engagements so that the procurement officers won't just be there?
It's part of it we are doing now. That is advocacy, of which whoever is listening to this our program now will now know that this is it. And in the law establishing the Public Procurement Act 14 of 2007, it is clearly stated there that if you misprocure, you go for 5 years jail, no option.
Has that been effective?
It's effective.
How many people have?
So many have gone for it, but if I said I'll quote, there are former, military people that were held for this thing, but I don't need to start putting their name. And there are some notable Nigerians that I tell you, they go to jail for it.
I tell you what we just mismanagement. You just say mismanagement of funds, mismanagement of this. Not
just as I told you that doctors, they will tell you drug abuse. I say instead of you to call it material abuse, it's still the same term they use for it now. Let's just like this way. Anybody you see carrying handbag, parading himself out there, when he turn, he say, I'm a businessman. Have you ever see those even illiterate carrying bags about? He will tell you, I'm a businessman, I supply this, I supply that.
But a doctor will tell you that, it's or a pharmacist, that it is actually his profession. That he knows a lot. He knows how to differentiate the fake drug from the real one. Than maybe a procurement officer that didn't study pharmacy, or that
maybe you have forgotten what I told you initially. With your own level of education now, if you ask to go to London, do you need an escort to go? Well, what you need is to give you the direction. The same thing apply that you need so drug. Give me correct specification. Specification is details aspect of what you need and what you require, and it will be purchased for you. If you give the details, it will be purchased for you. And when the item comes, you will be asked to come and inspect in conjunction with the store purchasing personnel that you receive, and it will be well documented when you are equally to take it. Not a question of, it's not an ability to just issue purchase order out that matter, but the ability to ensure that it is due process you follow.
Yes, you've been talking about due process, and my concern is people talk about we have too much process, long process. You want to get this, you write letter from one office to the other, and it takes time. If we putting this in place now, if all this were to be effective, won't it lead to more bureaucratic problems? I
tell you it will not, because if you file reach your table now and you treat it without putting it in abeyance, things will work. But it doesn't happen in the private sector. As soon as a file landed on your table, you treat it and dispatch. Then things will work out. But it's only in government cycle that we've seen this. Most in advanced country that is working, why is it working? Do you ask ourselves, why is it working? Why anything in Nigeria doesn't work? And most travel abroad. But let me tell you, just Kenya. I was in Kenya last year. The Procurement Institute like this over there, they have 17-story building as their office. And government respect it. Then they played very vital role as far as the similar EFCC we have in Nigeria there now. Because you cannot purchase anything on behalf of the government and the procurement will not be aware. You do that, you'll be held responsible and you pay the level. You are going to jail, no doubt, as far as Kenya is concerned. That is why they respected governors of each state, they respect that law there. When I went for the International Federation of Purchasing and Supply Management Worldwide, that's the world body we belong to. When I went for the program, because I was the director at large, and in that last year, I was elected Vice President, African region. To tell you, if you see how they respect Nigeria, thinking that we are doing the right thing, they don't know that procurement professionals are not allowed because they borrow most of the thing, they domesticated it there. But see the way government gave them the back end there. That is why I tell you, former President Olusegun Obasanjo knows what it is. He was the one who signed our law. And he was, 2 years ago, we visited him, we paid him visit to thank him that this is the way things is still going on. he said, are you not in Nigeria? This question he has said, are you not in Nigeria? Go and still be struggling, that one day we'll get it right. That was his advice to us. He said, if I said, okay, because of what I'm facing, I'm tired, I'm going to, it will still continue to go the way. You know. He said, go and still be trying. One day it will work for us in Nigeria. This is what he advised last year.
One day it will work. Okay, but how much of advocacy? Because it seems advocacy is the answer now. There's a law in place. People do not adhere. They don't obey the law. You know, the procurement law. So, all you have to do is just to advocate and all that. So, how much of advocacy have you?
As far as that one is concerned, we are on the air and the both electronic and print most of the time. Like last week, NTA, TBC, and some newspaper, they interviewed me, and I bear my mouth, and I told them, because, for instance, yes, the media are supposed to be member of the board of the procurement aspect of procurement of Nigeria, but till today they have not inaugurated the council. It's only still the institute that is on the air always that inaugurate the council. But the media, who's supposed to be mouthpiece of the people, they are not forthcoming. They are not talking, and I gave them the challenge that last week, that why are you people not doing something? Let's team up together, join hands together, so that our country can be placed where it's supposed to be, as far as due process mechanism is concerned. That where it is working, they don't have two heads there. It's still human beings that are there that are doing the job. Why can't we do it the same thing in Nigeria? Why can't we domesticate it? Because very many of us travel out and we see what is happening. Why, if we come to Nigeria, it's a different regalia we now wear. What we saw there, we jettison it.
Alhaji, how time flies. But we still have to talk about, because I know that you also studied transportation and logistics, you know, at Advocacy University. So maybe this may be the last question, because we really have to go pretty soon. So how do you feel when you look at we are still battling with logistics or problem? Why is it that many companies, logistics companies, you know, are fooding up? Some are fooded up, some are currently fooding up. In a nation that we need more of these companies.
Yes. Why it is like that? Let me tell you that Nigerians believe in a change of certificates. But when it comes to the technical aspect of it, we'll fall down like a bag of rice. That is one of the things. Because without logistics, an item cannot move to anywhere. That is why there's a statement made in one of the books that it said the war is defeated by logistics, not just the weapon. For example, this equally reminds me of what is happening in the north east, where the issue of Boko Haram was fulfilled. So it's not because of the weaponry they have, that's the material they have to fight you. For example, I'm sure we are 20-something years or getting to 30. If a boy of 18 years is with material that you cannot withstand, he will defeat you. He will disorganize you when you met on the road. Like the armed robber you are talking. What do you think make people run away? Is it not the sophisticated equipment they have that makes it happen? That is what is really playing against us in Nigeria. If they allow people who know how to plan, because logistics need proper planning. Any system needs proper planning. If you don't plan well, you definitely fail. Let's say, for instance, most of the trucks, trailers that are running on our way, is supposed not. It should be the efficient way of railway. But you find out this one want to grab this one want to grab this. That's what they used to kill so many companies. They will tell you government supposed not to have hand in it. Where do we go? Then leave most of those things to them. They cannot handle it. Like the aviation industry we talk about. Yes, they gave them license to this thing. Aviation is capital intensive. An individual cannot. And instead of them to conglomerate, come together to form one, formidable but everybody want to be answer managing director on one aircraft. Where is it done? It cannot work. It doesn't work in abroad.
Okay, lastly, let's just delve into transportation. I know it's also one of the problems we are facing in this part of the world. Lagos, for instance, we know how hard, that has become so problematic, and motorcycles, that have been quite efficient. Of course, very, very dangerous tool to use, phasing out, gradually. Why some will tell you that it's phasing motorcycles out is actually creating more problems, than solving it.
You see, the issue of motorcycle, yes, they have their member, but we find out most of them, I'll call them illiterate. Though we have educated illiterates too. Illiterate. In a situation where you have to do something diligently and you're not doing it, because if you go to Bobby, you see how they damage some people's leg and so on. That's not what it's meant for. And equally, using those motorcycles to be stealing, because where motor cannot go into the motor area, they will now use it to operate. How do you say that? But most of the transport in Lagos that we are talking about, yes, when you look at it in abroad, it's not compulsory that everybody should own car. Assuming there's efficient railway, transit that is on ground. Everybody will not do this thing. If you say you want to own car, you pay daily because the tax on it will make you not to say dream of having car.
Even if you own, you not drive every day.
Then, but you find out in Nigeria, some boys that are just coming up, what they want to own car. What is it for? Eastern value, not functional. Just to go and show off.
But it's for comfort.
I know. That is why I said, assuming there's sufficient railway. All these things you are talking, you don't need. Abroad, you don't need. Most of us have traveled abroad. We saw this thing. Then, the mass transit, that is the buses, like they introduce and they create a lane for it in Lagos. But you see it too, that this thing. But it equally makes some people not to, maintain this thing, because at the end, all those hoodlums will be the ones, this one will come, give us money. You find out it doesn't make the comfort.
So basically, that's just the way to go for Nigerians and Nigeria as a nation. And this is how far we can go to. Many thanks to you for coming. My guest has been Alhaji Aliyu Mohammed Jimoh. So thanks for coming. Maybe next time we have more time to talk more about certain issues as it relates to procurement, supply management, chain management, and the likes. So I want to say many thanks to you for watching too. It's been quite educative, enlightening, and of course informative with Alhaji Aliyu Mohammed Jimoh. So why not join us again next week for another scintillating edition of this program. Bye for now.
The habit of texting or using phones while working is becoming rampant. and it can be dangerous if you are not careful. You could get hurt, be robbed, or be hit by a moving vehicle. Avoid accidents by being more alert while walking on the road. Wait until you reach your destination before checking your phones. Life is precious. Stay alive and limit the use of phones while walking on the road. This message is from OGTV, the People's Telly.
The Ogun State government has observed with dismay illegal activities on gas pipelines across the state by unscrupulous residents. Such unacceptable behavior include erection of structures, among other forms of social and commercial activities on these gas pipelines. These acts are extremely dangerous and are capable of undermining the safety and security of not just the perpetrators, but innocent and unsuspecting residents of host communities. The present administration views these blatant violations with great concern and is therefore calling on perpetrators of such illegal acts to desist forthwith or risk immediate arrest and prosecution by security agencies. Leaders of communities where such gas pipelines